Time for another edition of Bases and Balls with our good friend Jim Rosenhaus, Guardians broadcaster, kind enough to join us. This is year number 3 of Bases and Balls with us, and I appreciate the time that Rosie has with us. So, Rosie, I always like to get to the nuts and bolts with you, and I guess let's first of all talk to the Wednesday performance again of Logan Allen. I think he's been one of the really bright spots. I listened to your broadcast, of course, during the games from Arizona, how he came in and won that job, and he's picked it up right here in the regular season. Talk about what you've seen from him and maybe adjustments that you've seen from last year to this year.
Well, he's definitely more aggressive going after the hitters, although his walks are up a little bit, which I know he's not real happy about, but he's been able to be good enough to work around those walks and get a lot of double plays and things like that. So, but just his demeanor, he's much more aggressive on the mound, it seems. And he even spoke to that. He said, look, not that he was giving hitters too much credit because you certainly should. They're major league hitters, but he said, I have to trust my stuff and let my fielders do the work sometimes. And he got away from that a little bit a year ago. So some mechanical adjustments and things like that to make his stuff a little bit better, but more, I think, on the mental side of how he wants to approach things. And it's really come into play nicely early on.
For the most part, that bullpen has picked up where they left off last year. I mean, they've been lights out. The only little bit of hiccup we've seen is Emmanuel Clase. And again, the other night got hit a little bit by the White Sox. We had the stumble around third that gets us the victory. But talk about Clase and go back to October, what you saw in the spring and now.
Yeah, it was shocking in October because of the season that he had last year. The regular season was one of the best seasons any closers ever had. And then in October, some teams got to him, and you kind of chalked it up to, look, it's the best of the best that you're facing in October, and they're seeing him a lot, almost every game, so they're getting a better read on him. But obviously, some teams have gone to school on that here in the early season. So he's trying to work through some things. The good thing is you look at the radar readings and his stuff, and the quality seems to be there. Just might be the pitch mix, how they're using the different pitches, and then just trying to. He's a strike thrower, which is usually a great thing, and it's the other way that really has you know pitching coaches scratching their head if they're not throwing strikes. He might throw a few too many because teams are certainly feeling good about going up there and hacking away early in the count because they know he's going to be right around the plate. So they're trying to work on that, and they'll get to a good place. The stuff's still good.
Rosie, the one thing, and quarterback in the NFL, many people say is the toughest job in professional sports. A ninth inning closer is right up there with that because one, you have to have a quick memory. Number two, these guys have battled 8 innings, and now you're going out there to preserve the game for them. So there's a lot of pressure on there. Mentally, you talk with him, you see him. Mentally, is he still good?
Yeah, I think absolutely so. In fact, on Wednesday night, there was, game probably should have been tied, but because Mike Tauchman of the White Sox pulled a hamstring, he wasn't able to make it to home plate, so he was thrown out. And, you might say, well, gosh, he's probably still upset, Clase, because he gave up the hit. And, what kind of save is that? Blah, blah, blah. It's a save, and they got to win, and that's all he cares about. So I think he's just fine. But to your point, I actually had a chance to visit with Mike Clevenger when the White Sox were here, Ray, and he's closing some games for them, and he said it is different, no question about it. He had a tough one in the home opener on Tuesday where he walked in the winning run, and he said that's unacceptable and terrible. But he said it's a different animal for sure, especially coming from his background as a starter.
With us is Jim Rosenhaus, Guardians broadcaster, bases and balls. And one of the guys I want to talk about, and I don't want to say we take him for granted, but he's been so solid now into year number 3. And that's our leadoff guy, Stephen Kwan. Gets on base, make things happen. 3-time Gold Glove Award winner. I mean, this guy has picked it right up again and off to a terrific start.
He sure is. And, the other day, I think he struck out a couple of times and didn't look good doing it. And you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on there? But it just, he was facing a tough lefty and things like that. But he's off to a good start, doing the things that they need him to do, especially hitting in front of Jose Ramirez, trying to get on base for Jose to drive him in. And he's done a great job at that, and he's making some good plays in the outfield too. So, yeah, consistency is the hardest thing in this game, but he's been pretty darn consistent since day one of his major league career.
So often in today's brand of baseball, you're seeing some of these power guys leading off, and it's weird. Then when you and I grew up, the leadoff guys would get on base, they'd steal, they put the ball in play. He's kind of a throwback to the old time leadoff guy.
A little bit, and it's funny because he's starting to hit for some more power and actually trying to do that when the pitch is right and the count is right and things like that. So maybe it is the evolution of the leadoff hitter, but he is kind of a throwback where uh, he's going to drive up the pitch count right away, see a lot of pitches, and put the pitcher in a bind if he can get on base, and he does a lot.
And finally, Rosie, let's do it. Starting tonight, we've got the Kansas City Royals coming in. So I don't want to say a big series, but this is a good barometer with our division. And they've been playing pretty good baseball since we saw them that opening series. And then you go to Baltimore. And this is an Orioles team that got off to a little bit of a slow start, and they've got their act together.
It's never easy, right? It always seems like no matter who you're facing, there's something that makes them a difficult team to win against. No, and it doesn't matter how good your team is or whether it's a tough season going. Everybody has something that makes them a challenge, and certainly we saw the Royals opening weekend. There's a lot to like there with their lineup and their starting pitching for sure. And with the Orioles, some of the best young talent in the game. So it'll be a challenging week ahead. It always is, but the Guardians are trying to hit their stride here in mid-April.
Well, Rosie, as always, my friend, thanks for taking time. We'll look forward to the calls this weekend and in the next week, and we'll do bases and balls again next week. Thanks for the time, my friend.
You got it, Ray.